Good afternoon, I'm Leila Masimba and you're watching AnewZ. Let's see your headlines. Protests intensify in Los Angeles as Trump deploys hundreds of National Guard troops. The United Nations Ocean Conference begins in France, aiming to encourage more countries to ratify a treaty that protects ocean biodiversity. Azerbaijan's national Chovken team has become European champion for the first time in history. Protests intensify in Los Angeles as US President Donald Trump deploys hundreds of National Guard troops. The demonstrations erupted after federal immigration raids on Friday targeted workers in southeast Los Angeles and around the city.
Tensions in Los Angeles escalated on Sunday as thousands of protesters took to the streets in response to President Donald Trump's deployment of the National Guard. The move blocked off a major freeway and saw self-driving cars on fire as law enforcement used tear gas, rubber bullets and flashbangs to control the crowd. The demonstrations come after the president pledged to deport record numbers of people living in the USA illegally and tighten security along the US-Mexico border. His administration set a goal for US immigration and customs enforcement agents to arrest at least 3,000 migrants each day. However, the enforcement sweep has also affected some people legally residing in the country, including permanent residents, sparking legal challenges and further fueling protests.
I think that's honestly what's heartbreaking the most, because they're making it seem like they're really bad people, like criminals, and when they're not, when they're just trying to work hard for their own families.
I feel sad about how they treat our Latino people from Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Latino people from Mexico, Central and South America. I'm not happy about what's happening. These illegal raids are taking hard-working people. It's not fair, it's not right, it's not right, it's not right. We came to work.
Governor Gavin Newsom condemned the National Guard deployment as unlawful. Meanwhile, President Trump defended the move, calling the protests radical left riots and threatened strong law enforcement action.
Be watching it very closely, and when they spit at people, they spit. That's that new thing. They spit, and worse, you know what they throw at them, right? And when that happens, I have a little statement. They say, they spit, we hit. And I told them, nobody's going to spit on our police officers. Nobody's going to spit on our military.
Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum criticized the US government over the immigration raids and deployment of the National Guard in Los Angeles during a public event.
We do not agree with this way of addressing the immigration issue. The phenomenon will not be addressed with raids or violence. It will be by sitting down and working on comprehensive reform that takes into account all Mexicans on the other side of the border. That is our position, and we always call for peace, for non-violence, not to intensify any violent form of protest, none.
Legal experts warn that deploying military forces against civilians risks infringing on constitutional rights and upsetting the balance of federal and state powers. The protests continue near Los Angeles City Hall as the city remains deeply divided over immigration and law enforcement tactics.
President Donald Trump's new ban on travel to the US by citizens from 12 countries take effect today. President Donald Trump's new ban on travel to the US by citizens from 12 countries takes effect today. Trump introduced a sweeping new travel ban last week, blocking nearly all migration from dozens of countries. Most of them is in Africa and in the Middle East. The order also imposes strict visa requirements for nationals from several other nations. The administration says the move is aimed at strengthening border security and preventing visa overstays. Critics argue the policy is discriminatory and politically motivated, with some foreign governments already retaliating diplomatically. Israel says it has uncovered a major Hamas command center beneath a hospital in southern Gaza and claims to have killed the group's chief during a raid. The army gave foreign journalists a guided tour of what it says is a tunnel complex under the European hospital in Khan Yunis.
Israeli forces have shown foreign journalists what they claim is a Hamas tunnel complex discovered beneath the European hospital in Khan Yunis, southern Gaza. Military convoys make their way through destroyed streets, passing scenes of devastation after months of fighting. Outside the hospital's emergency entrance, soldiers pointed to a deep hole, said to be the gateway to a command center used by Hamas fighters.
We are here in the city of Khan Yunis. This is the European hospital right behind me. The European hospital in Khan Yunis. You can see the very big hole in the ground right in front of it. This is the entrance we opened for a very big command and control compound, Hamas command and control compound. Yet this is another example of the cynical use of Hamas, using civilians as human shields, using civilian infrastructure, hospitals again and again.
Mohammed Sinwar was the leader of Hamas in the Gaza Strip and of its armed wing, following the killing of his brother. He held both positions until he himself was killed by the IDF in May 2025. Footage from inside shows a narrow concrete passage with mattresses, clothing and belongings. This is what Israel claims were signs of an underground hideout. The Israeli army says the raid also uncovered weapons, cash and documents that are now being analysed for intelligence. Speaking recently, Osama Hamdan, a Hamas official in exile, said the group has not rejected the latest efforts by the USA to reach a full ceasefire.
We confirmed that the movement did not reject the latest proposal of Witkoff, but we presented some comments and improvements to the proposal in order to ensure that this war ends.
In a push to stop the militant group, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has confirmed that the country has been arming opposition groups in the Gaza Strip.
We have operated clans in Gaza who oppose Hamas. What's wrong with that? It is only good. It only saves IDF soldiers' lives.
The latest claims and counterclaims underscore how deeply hospitals and civilian sites have become entangled in this war.
So Greta Thunberg and a team of celebrities decided to take a boat to Gaza. The British-flagged yacht Madlena, operated by the pro-Palestinian Freedom Flotilla coalition, aimed to deliver a symbolic amount of aid to Gaza later on Monday and raise international awareness of the humanitarian crisis there. And to unpack the recent developments on this issue, joining us live from Tel Aviv is Tom Cruise, political analyst. Thank you for being with us today.
Hello.
So there are global concerns about the humanitarian situation in Gaza. What role can Greta play there?
Well, in fact, there isn't really a food problem anymore in Gaza. There have been 11 million meals entered Gaza with a population of about 2 million people in recent days. To put that into context, that's almost as much food as has been delivered to Sudan, a country of 50 million, which really does require food aid over the last 2 years. What Greta could do is a few things she's not doing. She could call for the release of Israeli hostages, which Hamas are still holding in underground. She could appeal for Hamas to stop executing political opponents. Yesterday, various Palestinians were publicly executed by Hamas for opposing their rule. And what Greta could also do is maybe educate herself, because, you know, she's famous or infamous for having organized school strikes in her native Sweden when she was a teenager. And, you know, if she wants to spread more education, she should explain that the situation in Gaza will not be better for anybody, mostly for Palestinians, and there won't be reconstruction until Hamas are no longer involved in jihad or until they give up power. Then life can be better and can rebuild for the Palestinian population. So Greta is, she's aimed at the wrong audience here. It's kind of virtue signaling rather than actually helping anybody.
And the plight of Palestinians is a source of concern for many around the world today. Greta was traveling to Gaza, and during her trip she was stopped. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, she knew she'd be stopped. I mean, it was a celebrity boat with 12 people, including an actor on Game of Thrones, the fantasy Netflix drama, and it's a kind of publicity stunt. You know, Greta, to remind people, is used to being at the center of attention. She had her famous campaign against climate change, and she got to appear on the cover of Vogue magazine in Britain, also the cover of Vogue magazine in her native Sweden. She got to be Person of the Year by Glamour magazine, and she got to address the United Nations. And what she's seen is the issue of climate change is not quite as big in the public eye as it was a couple of years ago. So she's jumped on a bandwagon, Palestine, with which she knows even less than she knows about climate change. She honestly doesn't know what she's talking about when she's being given interviews about Gaza. And, you know, I wouldn't give an interview when I was a young man about some subject I didn't have any idea about, I don't know, Tibet or Kashmir or some scientific thing. So I don't think Greta should either. It's a waste of resources, a waste of time, a waste of fuel, by the way, since she's against climate change, she's wasting fuel on the boat too.
Thank you for your insightful answers, Mr. Gross.
Thank you.
We're joined now by our second guest. Israel confirms it is arming Hamas rivals in Operation Opposition Course Complete Madness. Joining me now from Dubai, UAE, Arthur Bloch, Editor-in-Chief, The Liberum. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, always good to be. Yeah, it's a development that might be a bit of the Lebanese civil war. It's a group to conquer or to a battle that you're unable to win yourself. I think it's counterproductive. It's not a plan. It's what the Romans called divide and conquer. So we have people, they have obviously a group now being in charge of them, no matter if the people like it or not, they're self-proclaimed, and then arming groups to fight them. I think it's counterproductive. It's not a plan, it's not a solution. It creates chaos. It will turn Gaza for the coming 10, 15 years into a war zone. That's going to happen. I mean, what's the solution? Killing all the people? Destroying everything that's left? I mean, I think it's time for the Israelis now to look at themselves in the mirror and say, hey, this is not winning the battle. You can't win the battle by military force. You have to find another solution. And arming groups to fight on your behalf, I mean, it didn't really surprise me, but I'm like, okay, fine. Let's see what that brings us.
And if I may ask, what are the actual capabilities of these groups, and how might they influence the population in Gaza in terms of their stance toward Hamas?
But that's a very complicated question to answer. First of all, I don't know exactly who and what and where these groups are located, how much money they get, what kind of weaponry they get, and you should ask yourself the question why. So what is this going to solve? So you, as Netanyahu just clearly said in the quote you broadcasted, yeah, it will save IDF soldiers' lives, but it doesn't work towards a solution. Now, we have seen this in the Lebanese civil war. We had in the 70s and 80s, the Christian militias were financed by Israel, and they were military trained, etc. Until the mid-80s, they didn't need them anymore, and then they just unplugged the whole project, killed guys who were fighting on their behalf, took some of the senior commands with them to Israel, and it never helped. It only divided the people more. I mean, the solution in Gaza should be a political one. As Trump said when he did his Arab tour in the past weeks, there should be a two-state solution, if the Israelis like it or not. Now, and like this, you can prolong the conflict. You can, from Bibi Netanyahu's perspective, stay longer in power. You can sit because this whole country is divided right now, the economy is collapsing. Or you can look for a solution. Now, sponsoring and paying for armed groups to fight on your behalf is everything but a solution to the problem, unfortunately.
Ukraine has released a new drone footage showing a direct hit on the Russian strategic bomb pad, Belaya airspace in Irkutsk. The FPV drone is seen flying a long distance before striking the aircraft, with smoke visible from early attacks. The base houses long-range bombers used in the missile strikes on Ukraine. This marks another deep target operation in Kyiv's campaign against Russia's air power. President Volodymyr Zelensky said 117 drones were used in its so-called Spider's Web operation by the SBU security service. The Kremlin has launched a formal investigation calling the strike a serious breach. Officials say Russia will respond when it sees fit, as military bloggers slammed the incident as a major intelligence failure. Volodymyr Zelensky says his country's recent drone strikes destroyed more than a third of Russia's strategic bombers, using what he described as cheap drones. In an interview with ABC News, Zelensky claimed that the attacks had wiped out 34% of Moscow's long-range bombing fleet. But US officials offered a more conservative estimate. Speaking to Reuters, two American sources said up to 20 Russian warplanes were hit and around 10 destroyed, roughly half the figures cited by the Ukrainian president.
7 billion, by the way. And we have our analytics that we destroyed 34% of their strategic jets, and especially those jets which they used to attack our civil infrastructure, people, children. They killed a lot of people. It's not about hundreds, it's about thousands.
Amid ongoing fighting in eastern Ukraine, police have evacuated vulnerable civilians from the front lines. Among them is a 4-year-old Milana, who was fitted with a body armor for her safety.
In Ukraine, danger looks and sounds like this. In eastern Ukraine, a police evacuation vehicle moves through the battered streets of Kostyantynivka as a drone detector picks up a threat overhead.
The situation in Kostyantynivka is very tense. It gets worse every day.
Amid the chaos, a fragile moment of protection. 4-year-old Milana is gently secured into body armor by police before the journey to safety.
I'm worried for my child. She needs to develop, go to kindergarten, learn and play with other children. We need to start a new life. She has to live her life and develop. She can't live her life sitting at home or in the yard.
They're among the lucky few who are safely moved into a quieter area in the Donetsk region, where Svetskova's older son awaits them. Elsewhere in the city, another life uprooted. Halnya is helped from her home with her cat by her side and the sound of shelling close behind. Her cat serves as a reminder of a life she now has to leave behind.
I found bombs in my garden. They destroyed so much. My bedding was hanging outside and then, boom, everything was tossed around.
One by one, civilians are being pulled from the fire. For now, they drive towards safety. But the war and its scars follow close behind.
The Colombian senator and potential presidential candidate Miguel Uribe Turbay remains in a critical condition following an assassination attempt in Bogotá. Hundreds of people assembled in the capital in a show of public support. Authorities continue to investigate the circumstances surrounding the incident.
Hundreds of people marched through Colombia's capital, Bogotá, in support of Senator Miguel Uribe Turbay after an attempted assassination. The demonstration went to the hospital where he is receiving medical treatment.
Estamos aquí orando por la vida y salud de Miguel Uribe.
We are here praying for the life and health of Miguel Uribe. May the Lord grant him strength and make him recover soon.
According to hospital officials, Uribe underwent surgical procedures on his head and left thigh and remains in intensive care. His condition is listed as critical. The incident occurred on Saturday in the capital during a public campaign event. Witnesses reported that 6 shots were fired, 2 of which struck Uribe. A suspect, identified as a minor under the age of 15, was taken into custody at the scene. The 39-year-old senator, affiliated with the right-wing Democratic Center Party, was conducting early campaigning activities ahead of Colombia's 2026 presidential election. He comes from a politically prominent family in Colombia. His grandfather served as president between 1978 and 1982. His mother, journalist Diana Turbay, was kidnapped in 1990 and killed in 1991 by an armed group under the command of the late cartel leader Pablo Escobar. The Colombian government has announced a reward equivalent to approximately $730,000 for information leading to further developments in the investigation. Authorities are examining whether additional individuals were involved or coordinated the attack. Colombian President Gustavo Petro has ordered a comprehensive investigation, including a review of existing security protocols.
Last night, Portugal staged a thrilling comeback to beat the hoarder Spain in a dramatic Nations League final in Munich, Germany, with a victory sought in a tense penalty shootout. Despite the celebrations, a fan fatally fell from the stands. The incident occurred during the fast period of extra time. Coaches and players have since expressed their condolences.
Munich's Allianz Arena was buzzing with energy as Portugal and Spain battled it out in a nail-biting UEFA Nations League final. The score was 2-2 after extra time, but when it came to penalties, Portugal kept their cool and won with a 5-3 shootout win.
What a performance! It feels great to be Portuguese and see my national team beat the country where I'm living.
They're our brothers, but we don't like them. So it was fantastic to win that match. Fantastic. Why? Because it's always incredible to beat Spain.
Portugal head coach Roberto Martinez beamed with pride as his team lifted the trophy. He tipped his hat to Cristiano Ronaldo's veteran leadership, saying it was the secret sauce behind their steel-strong character on the big stage.
A captain with Cristiano Ronaldo's experience is essential to create the values we believe in. Showing personality. Going behind twice today against a great Spain team, but continuing because of the captain's influence.
In the post-match press conference, Spain's head coach, Luis de la Fuente, gave a shout-out to the talent on both teams.
When the match finished, we had a moment to exchange some words with the opponents. And they all said to me, they all agreed this is the best national team they've ever faced. So what could we have done better, or what could we have changed? I don't think anything from the initial game plan because I think we managed things well.
Spanish fans had the trophy almost in their hands after taking the lead, but in the end, the shiny prize slipped through their fingers.
I am Spanish and I love Spain so much. They played really well, but that's football. You can't always win.
And with the trophy now just a short trip from the Spanish border, Portugal's neighbours will have to wait until they get a chance to snatch it back.
World leaders are gathering in Nice for the largest ocean summit in history, the United Nations Ocean Conference. Hosted by France and Costa Rica, the event aims to accelerate global action to protect our oceans, which face growing threats from climate change, pollution and overfishing. More than 10,000 delegates are attending, with a key focus on securing ratification of UN High Seas Treaty and advancing Sustainable Development Goal 14, life below water. French President Emmanuel Macron is urging countries to commit to real change, but experts say reports must be matched by action and funding. Just 2.7% of the world's oceans are effectively protected, far short from the 30% target by 2030. The European Commission is facing mounting pressure after German media alleged it secretly funded environmental NGOs to push its climate agenda. While Brussels denies any wrongdoing, the report has reignited debates over transparency, lobbying and the politicization of green policy.
The European Commission is rejecting claims made by Welt am Sonntag, which alleged that up to 700,000 euros was paid to green NGOs through secret contracts to support climate policies, including legal action against German coal plants and opposition to the EU-Mercosur trade deal. According to the report, organisations like Client Earth and Friends of the Earth were among the beneficiaries. The paper claimed the Commission sought to leverage NGO influence to raise pressure on German industries and sway internal EU trade negotiations. Brussels firmly denies these allegations. It insists all funding was allocated transparently under the EU's LIFE programme, a €5.4 billion environmental funding mechanism. The Commission says these grants were awarded through standard procedures and published on its financial transparency system. Still, the issue has stirred political controversy across the bloc. The European People's Party, the largest group in the European Parliament, says the Commission may have crossed a line by indirectly using NGOs to lobby lawmakers, raising concerns about institutional neutrality. In January, the EU's Budget Commissioner acknowledged that some activities funded under the EU's LIFE programme may have been inappropriate, specifically those that involved directing NGOs to lobby members of the European Parliament. Though not illegal, the admission added fuel to political criticism. The European Court of Auditors later described the funding process as opaque, warning that the lack of clarity exposed the Commission to reputational risk, even though it found no violations of EU law or values. In response, the Commission issued new guidance in 2024. These instructions prohibit the approval of NGO work programs that contain overly specific lobbying activities targeting EU institutions. Brussels has also promised further safeguards and closer cooperation with the European Parliament and auditors to ensure better oversight. Meanwhile, NGOs involved in the report defended their role. Client Earth clarified that EU funds were used only for operational support in its German office and not for legal expenses, pushing back against the claim that Brussels orchestrated court action. Friends of the Earth did not comment publicly.
Kazakhstan is in the process of selecting a provider for consultations on the construction of a nuclear power plant. And joining us live from Almaty is Kuat Dombai, Director of Center for Central Asian Studies, C5+. Great to have you with us today.
Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting.
So how much is Kazakhstan's nuclear choice really about geopolitics between Russia and China rather than just technology or cost?
Well, frankly speaking, of course, construction of nuclear power station in Kazakhstan has been since the beginning a very politicized issue. Strongly moved on several occasions by the Russian President Putin back 5 or 6 years ago, before the campaign with the war with Ukraine started. And Kazakhstan had different options of increasing its energy capacity, including building the traditional power stations, But perhaps due to these ongoing demands and the plans of the President Tokayev to increase the GDP of Kazakhstan twofold by 2029, of course, would require much more, or doubling the energy production. So the issue of building a nuclear plant was then approved at the people's referendum. And now, this month, the winner of which country would be building the nuclear plant should be announced. Although there is a short list, and the short list might be surprising from my point of view of selecting several contractors.
And could you think a Western partner like France or South Korea help Kazakhstan assert more independence in its foreign policy?
Well, talking about more independence in foreign policy, we should consider that traditionally, especially in the sphere of energy, there has been dominance of Russian Federation in Kazakhstan. So balancing that would mean to choose any other country to build the nuclear power station other than Russia, which could well be China, for example. Going further, there were talks about or offers from South Korea and France, has its own pluses. So this is why perhaps the President Tokayev recently announced that there wouldn't be one nuclear power station built, but 3 power stations, which would be talking that one would be most probably Russia, China, and France. So these are the three possible contractors. But the question is, who would be building first? Because it's not that 3 at once would be built. That would be too much costly to do that. So that's where it is in intrigue. I would presume that Russia might not be in the first place because of these recent developments. There is high political risks of sanctions, and the sanctions against Rosatom are being reviewed by the Congress. It's been already over 1 year. So the most likely candidates to build the nuclear power station in the first term, I would presume, could be either China or France. Both of them has, from the political standpoint, their own advantages, of course.
Thank you for your time. From fierce gaming battles to standout cosplay and local creativity, the Game Summit in Baku closed on a high note, spotlighting intense tournaments, impressive costumes, and a thriving community of small businesses and creators.
It's the final day of the Game Summit 2025 here in Baku. Local developers, creators and gamers have come together to celebrate the event. The atmosphere is quite vibrant as people come here to play tournaments and also showing off their cosplays.
The summit wraps up with high energy, from creative cosplay and indie showcases to intense gaming battles. Cosplayers took over the venue, dressed as their favourite characters, with some spending months perfecting every detail. Their creativity was on full display, and many were here not just to pose but to compete.
I'm doing a ghost cosplay from the game Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2. I think Game Summit is a great event. The atmosphere here is amazing. The participants are very interesting, and there are quite a lot of games and various cosplays.
I'm doing a wildlife photographer cosplay. This kind of camouflage is used when photographing animals. This Game Summit stands out from the others because the atmosphere is truly great.
My cosplay is Navi, game Genshin Impact, and my cosplay is Doki Doki cosplays. Game Summit festival is so beautiful and big festival. He has cosplayers, gamers, or other fandoms, or other.
While the costumes grabbed attention, the controllers were just as busy. Tournaments ran throughout the day, with gamers going head-to-head in everything from fighting games to strategy showdowns, especially during the finals where competition reached its peak. Small businesses also had their moment. From cultural snacks to handmade items, booths across the venue offered a little bit of everything. For many, it was a rare spotlight and a chance to grow their brand in a community that gets it.
This is the eco-style of scrapbooking called junk journaling. In general, you do all sorts of different things with paper, and then you sew together little albums like this for photos, for journaling, like diaries. And the colouring should only be done with natural materials, so the paper is dyed with tea, coffee, herbs, flowers.
So not many people know our stores, but here we can show our product, and we can also give the booklet, and then many people say that, oh, I didn't know that. So it's kind of the good opportunities for us to show our stores.
Biz Azərbaycanın ilk və tək custom işlə məşğul olan model kolleksioner komandasıyıq.
We are Azerbaijan's first and only team dedicated to custom model collectibles. We participate in exhibitions like this, almost everyone in fact. Our main focus is on car-related events. Our goal is to promote and grow this hobby in Azerbaijan.
Board games were also on display, with their creators working hard to introduce them to a wider audience.
We're just attending and displaying our local built card-playing game. So we are come here with a zero expectation, but we faced really huge and extraordinary impression and interest from the audience. So totally we are very glad about having some interaction with the locals right now, and it's a very exciting process right now, we can say.
After packed days of gaming, creativity and connection, the 2025 Games Summit comes to a close, leaving fans inspired and already looking ahead to next year.
Azerbaijan's national Chovken team has become European champion for the first time in history. In the tournament held in Poland, Azerbaijan's team achieved a historic victory by defeating Malta 6-2 in the final.
Azerbaijan claims historic victory at European Chovken Championship. Azerbaijan's national Chovken team has claimed its first ever European Championship title, marking a significant achievement in the country's sporting history. The prestigious tournament, organised by the International Chovken Federation, took place in Poland. In the final match, Azerbaijan secured a commanding 6-2 victory over Malta. Chovken, a traditional Azerbaijani horseback sport involving players striking a ball with wooden mallets, continues to gain international recognition. The International Chovken Federation announced plans to expand the sport's reach with upcoming continental championships, the Asian Championship in Uzbekistan this September, the African Championship in Nigeria later that month, and the South American Championship in Buenos Aires in November. Azerbaijan's triumph is seen as a milestone in promoting and globalizing Chovken, further solidifying its status on the international stage.
That's all we have for now. Thank you for watching and stay tuned to AnewZ.